Okay, so I have 7 passion projects, 7 games I must build before I... One is Project Eat the Rich, which I've started a development series on. Another is Who Killed the Dinner, a comedy horror I published a crappy demo of. And another is How about you finish one project before starting the next? Shut it. I'm working on an RPG inspired by Persona and Divinity Original Sin 2. You play as Keenan, a transfer student at a newly founded experimental school, where he and 2 other students happen upon a portal to another world. Yep, it's a portal fantasy. While exploring this new magical realm, they unfortunately wind up on the receiving end of a spiteful witch's curse and are transformed into mythical beings native to the fantasy world. Vampire, werewolf, and fairy. Obviously I have yet to add the proper models to this game, but it's a passion project and I wish to begin prototyping, so these will do for now. Just pretend, vampire, werewolf, and fairy. Got it? Great. The game is similar to Persona as it runs on a calendar structure. Each weekday you will attend classes and your free time will be spent strengthening bonds, leveling up attributes, talents, and keeping your new identities a secret. Oh, and also going on adventures in the other world because it turns out the curse is slowly killing our lovable students. And the only one who can remove it is the Wicked Witch herself. Damn it! The adventures will consist of engaging story quests which can be progressed by using your talents, such as talking to a cat who spotted a witch luring some goblins to a cave, or even controlling a cat and sneakily following the charmed goblin. Similar to Divinity, there are various talents that can be used to overcome a single problem, resulting in a story that has multiple paths and different consequences based on your decisions. But no matter how peacefully you resolve a solution, you're always gonna run into some conflict in a world with numerous races and their opposing beliefs. Thus, our group must be able to defend themselves in what I've decided to be turn-based combat, and the first mechanic I've begun implementing to fulfill this is the grid system. I wanted to go for a movement turn-based gameplay rather than ones like in Persona and Dragon Quest where the character just stands there and executes their action. I like how Divinity utilized the whole map as a battlefield. Since the fantasy world will be split into multiple open world territories, I thought a similar design would be a good fit. And why grid system? Well, I thought having some guidelines while fighting on a big map would feel less overwhelming, and honestly, I was inspired by South Park's fractured but whole gameplay. I developed the grid system to be adaptable, allowed me to easily change the cell size via an input field. Whilst undertaking their quest, the students will run into all sorts of large beasts, magical giants and whatever this thing is. Anyway, the grid system can support units that occupy multiple cells, and each cell stores data about the unit or even obstacles standing on it. And if you're wondering, no. Multiple units cannot stand on the same cell. That's illegal. Showing the whole grid obscures the beautiful fantasy environment I envision for this project. So I added grid system visual script that only displays cells that the acting unit can move to based on their move range and if the cell isn't already occupied. Here Keenan has a move range of 2, so all cells 2 units away from him are shown. By the way, who invited you to the party? This is a fantasy game, not a sci-fi. Get the hell out of here, iRobot. Goodbye. Now I can control Keenan the vampire, and I'm unable to move outside the available move area, no matter how hard I try. I've also added a free look camera control. You can pan out to get a nice, almost top-down overview of the battlefield, and pan in to focus on what's in front. Honestly, it feels a bit frustrating trying not to overshoot your targeted cell with a cell size of 1 unit. So I bumped it up to 2 and started developing the skill selection logic. It appears some enemies have joined the party. Bonko, Jimmy, Stoney, and Eva Sharman. Welcome, and observe how I implement logic on how you'll be harmed. I made a player-based skill script that filters down all the cells in the grid system to only show the ones that fit the criteria of all these variables. This is a simple selection for a single target melee attack with a range of 1. But that's rather simple. Thankfully, the player-based skill script is versatile, so I can show off some more. The selection for a single target skill with a range of 3 that can't penetrate, meaning it gets blocked by the first thing it hits. This could be used for a simple arrow attack. If I check the ball can penetrate, it remains a 1/3 regardless of whether a unit is in its path. This will be good for spells that originate from the sky like meteor rain or something. Here's the reverse, a 3/1. I can even select units in a cross, diagonally, and a whole area around the attacker. The units that are within the selected area are highlighted by some UI and stored so they can be viciously harmed in a brutal vampire attack. BAM! I began working on a basic attack, which is a skill that doesn't consume any HP or SP. It can only be triggered if the unit is standing within the cell and not the edges, and a valid target is selected. So don't worry about accidentally attacking your allies and being reported to the headmaster. Obviously this looks rather bleh, so I added different camera shots, a slow-mo effect, and another golem to act as servant to Vampire Keenan's fury. Poor golems. To really give the attack that oomph, I added some camera shake. Now it feels 10 times stronger with such a small detail. Unfortunately, another change means another hour of suffering for Stony as I test and see if I'm happy with the outcome. You're mad, aren't you, Stony? Yeah, you want revenge! Okay, I got you. Asking you shall receive. Stony and his friends now have some basic enemy AI. And I mean basic. The AI finds the closest player unit to them, then moves to the closest available cell near that player within their move range. I figured now was the right time to get the turn system going. I went with a fluid system rather than a fixed one. Basically, when combat begins, it orders the combatants by the unit with the highest speed stat. Then on each turn start, it calculates the combatant's next turn with a formula based on their speed, resulting in a value I've called action time, and pops them into the queue based on that value. The lower your speed, the longer you'll be waiting to get your hands on an enemy, and by the looks of things, Stony is going to be waiting a long time to get their revenge. And even then, you can't even attack. Let's fix that. There. Now we're getting somewhere. The enemy attack is pretty much a copy-paste of Keenan's attack, but with a different animation. I decided to join Keenan's graphic design classes and added some UI to the prototype to kind of give it some style since there are no environmental assets in the scene to achieve this. You don't count. I didn't want to go with a simple health bar, and I like how health was displayed as a heart in Persona 5. So I went with that. The enemy's health UI only displays when they're selected. On damage, the damage dealt is shown via text along with a visual to show the percentage based on their max health. Oof, good night, Stony, that was a strong hit. Oh, and now Jimmy's running like a headless chicken because I haven't implemented logic for what the AI should do when all players are knocked down. You'll be waiting a while till I get to that, Jimmy, because this turn system UI is looking kind of ugly. And damn, look how gorgeous everybody looks with their pretty portraits up. So yeah, Jimmy, Stony, Keenan and Bonker were invited to do a Vogue cover shoot. The borders I downloaded from ArtStation. They're not being used in the final game, it's just for the prototype. Next was to get the units to deal varying damage based on their strength, equipped weapon, the target's armor and bonus damage for critical hits. So I had to design some damage formulas that incorporated these variables. Am I going to show you these formulas? No, because they're embarrassingly simple. No, don't look! But what should one do when one can't attack? Guard. It's a great way to simply end your turn and has the bonus of reducing all incoming damage by 85%. In some games your guard is broken as soon as you attack, but I've decided to allow the characters to maintain their guard until the start of their next turn, so it can be used strategically and not just because there's nothing else to do. It also protects you from status effects, and maybe I should give the enemies the ability to guard too. Enemies like Bonko and Jimmy. Stony's a Chad. He takes the damage like a... Yeah, probably should have guarded that, mate. So now, I got some UI, a basic attack, a guard action, and some basic enemy AI. I think it's time to add more UI. There. Now I finally have an action menu, which is heavily inspired Persona 5's menu, but with a fantasy twist. It's only visible when the user hasn't selected an action and when they pan the camera in. I assume if the player is panning the camera out, they're trying to get a better view of the battlefield and the UI is in the way. Okay, I'm done with the UI. Now it's time to round up the party and have us a real battle. I've added Keaton's fellow cursed classmates, Kira a fairy, Imani a werewolf, and Atura a smack-talking undead who stumbled upon Stony and shouted, "Your mama's so fat, even elder vampire couldn't drain her." To which Stony simply responded, "Golems no half blood." Atura took offense to such disrespectful backtalk, and yeah, I just made that up on the spot. He doesn't even have a mouth to be talking crap like that. Regardless, the battle begins. Arturo is an archer. He's the bonus of attacking from afar, unlike the others, and I think he has the best looking attack so far. However, he can't shoot if an ally is in the way of the path. Though I'm thinking of adding a mechanic where allies will duck if in the way, so that won't be a problem for too long. Already this game requires some strategy on when to attack, guard, and where to place your characters, because remember, it's illegal for two units to stand on the same cell. Obviously, I did not keep this in mind when playtesting at 4 AM and I made loads of mistakes. Wow, how am I bad at my own game that I designed? Currently, when a unit is knocked out, you may walk through their cell but not perform an action on it, which is represented by the grey square visual. This design may change. It's as such because later knocked out combatants can be revived via spells and they need a cell to return to. Some enemies can't be revived, so their bodies will be removed from the battlefield when knocked out, freeing up space on the grid. And that's it for Project Another World's first devlog. I'm super excited to be working on it and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Let me know your thoughts and mechanics you want to see. I already got a cool bunch in store. Like this affinity mechanic, inspired by Persona, as beings of the fantasy world all have their strengths and weaknesses. We all know vampires despise sunlight, which I'll be showing off in the next devlog by beating up Stony again. So please, make sure to like and subscribe to make all his suffering people something.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.